God of War Ragnarok, a game with haptic feedback so responsive my DualSense is smoking a spliff in the back garden. This game is amazing. We play as Kratos, in the role of Dad. And this is boy. He hit puberty and turned into a bear, so Kratos had to neck a Stella and put him in his place. I played about 8 hours and I wanted to do this video because, let's face it, what else am I going to do? I wanted to combine my thoughts so far with a touch of tomfoolery to keep things entertaining. Whether or not this video contains spoilers entirely depends on what you consider to be a spoiler, so whilst I don't plan on diving into the 8 hours of story that I've experienced so far, a sufficient warning is still sufficient. So buckle up, Sony ponies, you're about to hear the most balanced thoughts a mentally unstable man can have. So far, I must say, hands down, this is shaping up to be the best game that I've played all year. It's intense, violent, the story is amazing, the soundtrack is fantastic, every single shot is aesthetically pleasing, and the only reason I've had so far to put it down is to sleep, and besides that, because my controller needs a breather or it's going to explode. The game starts off with just the right pacing. It doesn't take long before we're slapped with an action sequence that also reintroduces us to the narrative that was left off at the end of God of War 2018. Oh my god, is that a demon of the forest? Wait, nope, it's just Freya, and I think I preferred her when she lived inside a literal turtle. The game also very quickly slaps us with emotion. The dog dies, like immediately. I mean, come on, why'd you have to do this to me? No, Mither, I came prepared.
No.
I guess I kind of relate to it. I lost a pet earlier this year. Anyway, I have good news. Cheese strings. Oh shit. Now I'm going to give you a guide on how to eat a cheese string. Cheese! The game is essentially firing on all cylinders from go. You're probably wondering, can it deliver emotion, action, amazing soundtrack, wonderful visuals, expression of character and limited downtime? And all of that with no loss in quality whatsoever across the board? Of course it can. It's God of War. The trick this game employs to enable quickly pivoting between one moment and the next is quite simple really. It just uses one seamless shot. The entire game is one shot, just like God of War 2018. It's a simple trick that, in my opinion, in the instance of God of War, not necessarily for everything, allows quality to be delivered whilst moving quickly, because you can be moving as quick as anything, but because you're seeing everything, it never feels sudden. That allows for a greater variety in pacing and tone because you don't feel like it can be rushed. The game simply switches it up when it's ready to. It's simple, it's clever, it's not new, and I like it. And it also makes what's going on a bit more impressive. For example, one moment you're having a bev with Thor himself, who looks a bit like Thor after he went for the head with Thanos, and before you know it you're being sent to space by his hammer. And then you're back on the ground punching his face in, and watching one moment roll into the next and then the next and then the next is far more satisfying than jump cuts, because of how impressively this game is designed to be seamless. Every single moment that needs to make an impact does. And you'd think in order to accomplish this the game would need to sacrifice non-linearity. But it doesn't. There are openish spaces and side content to do within them. You can take off and do your own thing for a bit without losing that sense of linearity, as in my opinion the single shot approach allows you to retain your focus. And when it comes to narrative tone, the game seems to flow between serious scenes and varying degrees of severity to more light-hearted moments with relative ease. For example, this is a cartoonish looking talking squirrel who you can push to the edge of a depressive episode.
You're deliberately attempting to push me into some sort of emotional outburst, aren't you? I'm not so easily swayed, my good man. Stop with the stupid
This picture is just mental. How did they not make this feel out of place? As far as returning characters go, of course we've got Kratos and Atreus, who we can now play as. Then of course we have the return of our favourite dwarven handymen, Brock and Sindri. Why the fuck does he run like that? And then of course there's the wisecracking talking head who is attached to Kratos' arse at all times. What happens if the man farts? Like, he can't even escape it. And don't get me started on what must happen to him in the death animation. I mean, falls flat on his back. I didn't think it was possible to have welfare concerns for a decapitated man, but here we are. Returning characters plus continuations of their journey and development equals good porridge. I'm not sure what else there is to say. Now, let's discuss gameplay. Delicious, simple, quick-time events that keep you involved in action-packed cutscenes. I have been repeatedly kicking the wolves in the head for 30 minutes. You can destroy things. It's satisfying. Remember kids, vandalism isn't likely to gain you anything, but it might. Nothing brings me greater joy than watching helpless tiny animals explode. Row, row, row your boat gently down the... Ooh, trains. You get the point, the gameplay is always adapting and switching up in small ways to keep the player engaged, so top marks for that. I find the environmental puzzles to be a touch on the confusing side, but then again I have the brain capacity of a scrambled egg. Naturally, when it comes to combat, a game titled God of War thrives. The combat has converted me from a regular passive member of society to a full-blown axe murderer. I have killed 3 people already. Seriously, you're going to spend a lot of time in combat in this game, so it makes sense that this is done to the highest degree of balance. The haptic feedback when throwing the Leviathan axe and then calling it back to you is, well, it's nice. The combat provides plentiful challenge, and there are also many boss fights for you to test your mettle against. This is a coked up crocodile, and it has killed me 60 times. Though I will say so far I've spent simply too much time fighting these things, but there's plenty of variety in enemy archetypes to keep you on your toes, so it's no big deal. Bonus points for the plentiful opportunities for gory animations that certainly makes certain combat scenarios less like a clusterfuck provided you build up enough momentum. That's not an in-game gauge or anything, that's just how the combat system rewards you. The better you do, the better you do. I'm probably being pretentious and wording it in a way that makes it sound more than it is. If you pay attention and do well, you're less likely to be overwhelmed, but cock it up enough times in quick fire succession and what should be a satisfying experience can quite easily turn into your worst nightmare. Obviously you can craft and upgrade gear to help you become more resilient in combat, as well as unlock skills for Kratos and Atreus that will aid you in the long run and provide much needed lifelines when facing more challenging enemies. But hopefully I'm not being too outlandish in saying the menus are a total mess. There's a lot going on here and it's arguably too much, and I don't even understand half of it now. It's a minor thing all in all, and it may be my problem more than it is the game's, but it's just how I find it. I get what they're trying to go for and it is a little bit simpler than it looks, but believe me when I say the fact that this layout is one of my bigger criticisms of this game overall is a good thing, because where it counts this game is absolutely godly. Get it? Because it's God of War. I'll show myself out. But not before I talk about Atreus' gameplay. I thought being removed from the action as Kratos would be a chore, but no. It's actually really satisfying. Boy has come a long way since the 2018 game.
A chest.
He may not be the hulking behemoth his father is, but that change of pace, especially with regards to the combat experience, only adds to the game rather than subtract from it. But after a while you do start to miss Kratos' bold goodness, so the game knows not to linger too long. That's a good question actually. Do you reckon Kratos is bold by choice, or do you reckon his hairline receded? I'm finding it hard to imagine this man with a cul-de-sac. Anyway, there is one more gameplay feature I wish to rave about. Boing. On the performance front, of course this game runs amazingly well, why wouldn't it? I mean, so far I've only really encountered one game-breaking bug that required me to reload the checkpoint, but for 100 gigabytes of game I frankly expected far worse, so it's fine. So based on my limited experience so far, should you buy God of War Ragnarok? Well, in my opinion, yes, unless you don't own a PlayStation, that would be ridiculous. This isn't a review, but as a number score, let's give it 69 out of 10 because this game has cured my hemorrhoids. In fact, why don't we whack that on the box art? One can only imagine the sales this game is going to rake in now. You're welcome, Santa Monica Studios. Now that my controller has had time to chill out, I'm going to go play some more God of War Ragnarok. Hopefully the game doesn't turn itself on its head and change my opinions altogether, because that would make me look really stupid. Thank you for wasting nigh on 10 minutes of your lives on this video. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry there are no refunds, time is finite. But no, really, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. That would be super fantastic. But of course, if it ain't for you, no worries. Just move on, perfectly fine with me. If you like history, maybe check out my history channel Decades via a link in the description. If you don't like history, of course, don't worry about it. There'll be plenty of content here as well. And with any luck, I'll be seeing you all very soon with another video at some point. But until next time, please take care and goodbye.